Mama G in the house. Hey, Lima Christian School distance learners. This is lesson 2, part C. We're still on our mouse. This is the last lesson for the mouse. Hopefully you guys will come out with some really cool stuff that I can share with each other and on Facebook. So this is for 7th through 12th grade, but you're going to see that there is what we call an extension project. So from what we've already done, so this was from lesson 2B, we refined our mouse. Everybody should be at this step. If you're not at this step, pause the video, get your mouse back out, get this part done. If you are at this step, get your mouse back out so you're ready for this part. So what are we going to do today? Well, this is broken down into 2 segments. It's just going to be one whole video though. So if you are 7th through 9th grade, you only need to watch the first part until I tell you that you're done. 10th through 12th grade, you can zoom through this next part if you want until I'm done. And you can just do the 10th through 12th extension. Or if you guys are feeling really kind of crazy, a little cray-cray, you guys can do both lessons and you'll get extra credit. So 7th through 9th grade, you can go ahead and do your piece, but then if you want to do the extension lesson, you can. Now you're going to say to me, but Mrs. Garlock, if we already drew and changed our mouse up, how are we going to do that? Remember, you have your own very own light box at home if you are in the daylight, and that will be a window that sun is coming through. So you can take another piece of paper, take your original drawing, put a blank piece of paper over top of it on the window, and you will be able to, you can kind of see through this, no, maybe, oh no, you can't, you can see a turtle that I drew or something. Okay, anyway, you'll be, oh, there you go. You'll be able to see this mouse beautifully, and you can copy over what you need. Don't copy what you don't. That's your own light box. So I'm going to get started with 7th through 9th graders. So 7th through 9th grade, what you're going to need today is you're going to need your mouse drawing. You're going to need a pencil and an eraser. And if you have a marker, that would be really good. Either a fine point marker or even colored pencils or whatever, because this is where we're heading today. What you're going to do now is you are going to draw a bubble letter of maybe your first name, maybe the name of a friend, maybe an M for a mouse. I don't really care. Now, what you might end up saying too is that Mrs. Garlock, where I drew it on my paper doesn't give me enough room to draw my bubble letter. So here's what I'm going to tell you to do. Take another piece of paper. You can put your mouse under it on the window. You can trace your mouse in a new position on your new paper. That will give you plenty of room to do your bubble letter underneath, and then come back and do your bubble letter. I did the letter Q for Queen because you guys know I'm the Queen of Arts. I love you all so much. Anyway, let's move on. Okay, so here we go. So when I did this, I took my little mouse here and I didn't change the positions of his paws at all. I took this and I started to draw out. Obviously, I had to move him too. I traced him onto a new paper to give me room. You can see this side is a little wonky right here of my letter Q. This side's a little more round. That's because I kept with this line here. I don't want to move where his paws are. So whatever you're drawing, let's say you say, Mrs. Garlock, I'm going to draw the letter T and this is rounded here. It's a bubble letter. You could draw the letter T like this. Woo! Okay, so it's a bubble letter. It doesn't have to be totally perfectly straight up and down. It can have rounded edges. It can look kind of funky. I'm good with that. But once you get that letter drawn, then I want you to break it up into some different shapes. And I want you to go ahead and add some cool things to it. So let's say I have my mousy mouse here because I didn't redraw him for you. Here's my mouse. Oh, he's so cute. Okay, he looks more like a demented, I don't even know what. Okay, but let's just say this is my mouse. I'm such a good artist. Okay, let's say I drew the letter T as a bubble letter. Okay, now what I want to do is I want to break down this into different shapes first. Large shapes, okay? Any which way. You can make them really angular if you want, so you can make them more geometric. But in each of these large spaces, that's where you're going to put a different pattern. So maybe we're going to try something like we used with the shark, where we just use these shapes here. Or maybe we're going to make polka dots in the next one. Maybe we're going to make more of a checkerboard. And in that case, it looks really nice if you take something and you color in every other one until you get it all finished up. It would look really nice if you guys could finish it up with a nice tracing with maybe a fine tip marker, but if you can't, that's okay. So that's grades 7 through 9. So go ahead, guys, get started on that. I want to see what you guys create. You can send that to me either on my email address that you guys have, my school email address, or all of you should have somewhere my phone number now if you want to text a picture to me. But I want to see these. This is the completion. This is the end of lesson 2. So love you guys. If you want to stay on now for the 9th through, or the 10th through 12th graders, stay on with me, but you don't have to. Okay, so my 10th through 12th graders, what you're going to do is you're going to take that cool little mouse that we did, that we refined. So go grab that up right now. And you're going to have it sitting on something. I want it to be something real. So I want you to go find a picture, so a photograph. So remember, please don't draw this just from your memory because it will be a really simplified shape, won't look realistic, and I want you guys to come away with something that you can possibly put in your art show. We'll talk more about that because I think we will have an art show. Whether it will be one where we actually go to or a virtual art show. We got some cool plans with Mr. Thompson, and so we're still planning on it. So create for your art show. But this is going to be a mouse sitting on something. It can be your choice of anything as long as it's realistic. It could be, and remember, because you have this little rounded shape here, that's the one thing that I would say is going to keep you from doing, just anything you want. Because if you want him sitting on a block, a piece of wood that is squared off, that's not going to work. But if you want him sitting on maybe a block of cheese or something that's curved on one edge, or if you want him sitting on a flower or a rock or a mushroom or whatever, then you can do that. And what we're going to be looking for on this is looking at the photograph, and we're going to be adding our values and our texture with just our regular good old yellow number 2 pencil, unless you have, which is just your school pencil, unless you have other pencils. But I did this all. This is just copy paper, and I used a mechanical pencil because I wanted some nice fine lines. You're also going to either need something to smudge it around with, right? I've told you not to use your fingers, but I'm going to tell you can use your fingers, but with a little caveat. But if you brought home your blending stump, you can use that. If you don't have a blending stump and you have a Q-tip, you can use a Q-tip. But if all else fails, you don't have those, you can use your finger. I usually say you can't, but you still can't touch your paper. You need to use your finger with some Kleenex, if you still have any while you're in quarantine. That's why I've got the other stuff. There's my Kleenex. I can put it over my finger, protect it, and voila, I can blend with it. Okay, so there's what we have. So let's get started with this. I'm not going to take long on this because I already have a very long lesson that I've showed you guys. This is the basics of where I want you to go with this as far as the mouse. So again, like the 7th through 9th graders, if you've drawn this in a position where you don't have enough room to put something underneath, use your window as a light box, retrace your mouse onto something else, and then onto another piece of paper, and then you'll have plenty of room. But here's my mouse, and what I want to do, what we've always done, is we're going to squint at this and we're going to say, where is it lighter? Where is it darker? If we want it to look like it has fur, those are lines, but they're not little lines that are like this. If we look at them, we really have to think, how long are those lines and what direction do they go? And do they cross each other? That sort of thing. So I usually find my shapes and my shadows and my values first. So if I see this is really dark underneath here, I'm going to start right out and I'm going to take that area and I'm going to be careful with it. I don't want a lot of pencil lines showing unless it shows the texture that I want. But I can color this in right away pretty dark. So I want you to go in with your dark colors first, or dark values first. Fill those in. Eyeballs, don't forget he's got some nice little reflections. Go ahead and fill in anything that should be dark first. There's dark along here, so I want to put a little dark in this. Okay. You can also be refining your critter as you go if you need to here. Okay, where else is dark? There's some dark over on this side. I can go ahead and add that dark in. Okay, I'm doing it kind of quick. You guys will do even nicer here. And he doesn't have too much other dark on him. Now he has medium. How do you figure out where the medium values are? Well, now if you squint at our mouse drawing right here, our mouse photograph, sorry, you can see the areas that pop out as the lightest, and some areas show up as not black, not white, but as a gray. So that will be back here. So what I can see is I still need this little curve here where it separates the light from the dark. I'm going to do this lightly. You guys can see that? Yeah, okay. Lightly. And then I'm going to fill this in. But I'm going to also ask myself, look at this right here. What happens? Well, it goes from medium to light again. We can see that light because the background is dark. Over here, if I left this totally light on the edge, you wouldn't see an edge of his ear. So we have to do what's called a lost and found line on this edge here so that it still looks nice and delicate. So I'm going to kind of put a little line in that tells my eye where to go, but it's, if you look at it, it's not a big solid line, right? It's just a suggestion of where that's going to go. Then I can use my pencil and I can gently fill this in. Now on copy paper, your graphite's going to smooth out far and wide. So just know you're not going to need a whole lot of graphite, which is the lead you're putting on, or the color you're putting on, I should say value. Okay, so you can get that on. I haven't gotten it all done yet, but I'll show you what I'm going to do with this. Then I can blend that, and it looks beautiful. So I'm just using a Q-tip right now. See how beautiful that looks. So the big thing I want to remind you guys that's in 10th through 12th grade is we're doing something that's supposed to look kind of realistic. So we really want to think about getting rid of hard lines. We have to absorb them into the value that they're next to. If I left this line really hard right here, it would stop my eye and look like a cartoon. I don't want it to look like a cartoon. I want it to look as real as possible. So we only want lines like these whiskers or this lost and found line, or if we have to have something that shows us the texture on the outside here, we only want minimal lines just where we need them to give us information and no more than that. So you guys go ahead and do that. Go find something he's going to be sitting on. Make sure you're looking at a picture of it. And hope you guys have a blast with this. Again, if you want extra credit, 7th through 9th graders, you can do this project as well. You'll also have to copy it over again. And 10th through 12th graders, if you want extra credit, you're going to be doing our bubble letter mouse also. All right, I love y'all. Mama G out.